すごい解体ショー見とるみたい。
啊，我是。
どうしてさ魚が四角くなるんかなと思ったけど、ここに書いてる。
差唔多30 kg 嘅，係多謝，都係俾掌聲俾你，唔該啊！今日係咪夜晚啊？係咪夜晚先到嘅？犀利㗎啦！我研究過咧，阿師傅好多次㗎啦。你咁樣睇完之後咧，啲水咧，啲骨嗰啲全部已經係冇晒㗎啦。即係每啲骨咧全部冇晒㗎喎。大家知道海鮮餃喺邊度？
In a nation that loves seafood, pride of place goes to the king of fish, the tuna. Tuna is the fish most commonly served at sushi restaurants. It's eaten raw as sashimi and used in many other dishes as well. Bringing out the full, special taste of tuna demands exceptional culinary techniques and ingenuity. Before refrigeration, chefs devised a special way to preserve tuna so that it could be eaten fresh. Fishermen head out to sea to renew an epic one-on-one battle with giant tuna. Today, tuna is loved around the world, and amid concerns about overfishing, new ideas are being tried. On this edition of Begin Japanology, we explore the appeal of tuna, such an essential part of the Japanese diet.
Hello and welcome to Begin Japanology. I'm Peter Barakan. Today our theme is tuna, and I'm sure for most people when you hear the word tuna, the first thing you're going to think about is sushi. There are all kinds of sushi restaurants, but some of the best ones tend to be in these tiny little alleyways, and that's where I'm headed for now. Konnichiwa. Each piece of sushi is prepared individually and then placed in front of you here at the counter. It's the quintessential image of a sushi restaurant. In fact, though, this method of serving the food dates back to street stalls in the Edo period 200 or 300 years ago. Restaurants that specialize in the Tokyo style of sushi, tuna is definitely the star of the show. And the restaurants have to be able to offer a steady supply of tuna throughout the year, although the bulk of the catch of bluefin tuna, which is supposed to be the best for sushi, actually takes place during the winter. And in recent years, on top of that, the size of the catch has been somewhat subject to fluctuations. Anyway, let's move on now and take a closer look at tuna and what kind of a fish it is.
Say Japanese cuisine, and these days most people think sushi. An exquisite combination of fish and rice. And tuna is the star attraction. This is a conveyor belt sushi restaurant. Tuna is popular with people of all ages. The annual global consumption of tuna is about 2 million tons. A quarter of this is eaten in Japan. I always have tuna when I eat at a sushi shop. If there's no tuna, there's no point in going out for sushi. There are lots of different ways to enjoy tuna. Raw, in sushi or sashimi. That's the most typical way. Tuna tastes best when it's kept for at least a few days before serving. And it goes perfectly with soy sauce and wasabi. This is grilled tuna head. You can eat almost everything from the skin to the eyeballs. The fatty part by the gills is outstanding. Negima nabe is a hot pot. Tuna and Welsh onions in a soy sauce broth. This has been a popular tuna dish for centuries. Deep-fried tuna. Tuna tastes delicious raw, boiled, grilled, or fried. It's early in the morning at Tsukiji Market in Tokyo. This is one of the world's biggest fish markets and handles around 500 varieties of fish from all over the world. About 500 billion yen changes hands here each year. The tuna make an especially strong impact. Today there are about 1,000 tuna lined up. They come not only from Japanese waters but also from as far away as New Zealand and Spain. Tuna are migrant fish. Wherever they move is their home. There are 5 main species. The first is the bluefin tuna. This species is found mainly in the northern hemisphere, such as in the Mediterranean and off the coast of Japan. Most of the bluefin that are caught are eaten in Japan. Bluefin is a supreme ingredient for sushi. Next is the southern bluefin. This species is found mostly in the southern hemisphere. It's high in fat and has a rich taste. The big eye tuna, as its name suggests, actually does have big eyes. This species is found in oceans all over the world. It has vivid red flesh and quite a light taste. The yellowfin tuna is found in tropical and subtropical seas. It has little fat and is in season during the summer months. Finally, there's the albacore with its long pectoral fins. It's eaten all over the world, and along with the yellowfin, it's used for canned tuna. Tuna flesh can be divided broadly into 3 types. The vivid red flesh constitutes the largest part of the body. And then there's a part which is a blend of red meat and white fat. Lastly, the fatty part around the belly, which is known for its melting softness. The various colors of tuna flesh make it look good as well as taste great. This fish is essential to Japanese cuisine.
Now, the chef here has a special kind of sushi which he learned from his mentor, and he's going to give us a demonstration of that next. I'm looking forward to this, I can tell you. What do you call this?
Jumbo tuna roll.
With one of these big rolls, there are lots of them, and they tend to have all sorts of different things in them. Why do you choose to put in only tuna?
Red flesh, the semi-fatty part and the fatty part. I want my customers to enjoy all the flavors of tuna.
Look at that, isn't that beautiful? Here, have a look. We've got all the 3 different colors of the tuna there. What am I supposed to say? It looks beautiful and it tastes as good as it looks. Okay, while I dig into this, before we actually get the tuna here on the counter, it has to be caught, processed, and all sorts of things done to it. We're going to take a look at those processes and some of the skills of the professionals involved.
The bidding is over at Skidge's morning tuna auctions. Once bought, a tuna is cut up immediately. Before its meat reaches the consumer, there will be several cutting operations. First, the head is cut off. A special knife designed for cutting tuna is used. On the top of the blade is an important metal protrusion. That's to prevent the hand from slipping and getting cut. It takes great strength to cut off the head. Next is the body. A different knife is inserted between the back and belly. For this task, a back-slicing knife is used. Tuna swim fast. They can hit speeds of over 160 kilometers per hour. That's made possible by a very tough skin and powerful muscles. Tuna have to be cut carefully with sturdy knives. The knife here is 2.4 meters long. This can cut a tuna cleanly in half. It's surprisingly pliant. This man thrusts the long knife into the opening made earlier and cuts the tuna, working in perfect unison with his colleague, holding the tip of the blade. The pliancy of the blade lets them keep it close to the bone. In 7 minutes, a tuna more than 1 meter long is sliced in half. The cut tuna is delivered to sushi restaurants. This is the first knife the sushi chef uses. He cuts the part near the spine and then strips off the tuna's hard skin. The next step involves another knife that tapers off to a thin end. With this knife, the various key parts, red, fatty, and so on, are cut off. The use of this knife reduces friction between flesh and blade when cutting while pulling, keeping the flesh in the best possible condition. The parts are then carefully cut up into smaller chunks. This blade is used to cut through any tough parts. When you eat the meat, you get a smooth texture with no chewy bits. The size of the cuts varies according to the part of the fish. Here it's about 10 grams for the red flesh and 15 grams for the fatty parts. The red flesh should be cut in the size that's appropriate for the red flesh. Same thing with the fatty part. And the fatty part should be cut into slightly larger portions. And there's a great deal of skill involved in this too. For freshly caught tuna and for somewhat aged tuna, a chef will naturally vary the angle at which he inserts his knife, or the angle at which he severs the chewy bits. In Japanese cuisine, the key to taste and appearance is expertise with the knife. The way the fish is cut can make or break the taste of a tuna.
The Japanese word for a head cook or chef, especially in this kind of traditional restaurant, is itamae, which means literally in front of the board, board being a chopping board. Ita is the board and mae means in front. And when you're standing in front of the board, the most crucial thing is what's in your hand, which is your knife. Is there anything special about the way that you cut tuna compared with other fish?
Tuna flesh is very fragile, but it has tough, chewy bits. It's difficult to slice through them without damaging the flesh.
When you buy the tuna, which I presume you do just about every day, do you immediately serve it in the restaurant that day, or do you wait a few days, or how does that work?
Sometimes I wait 2 or 3 days after buying it, and sometimes maybe a week or so. Anyway, I do let it age a little bit, basically.
I think it's the sort of thing that the pro sees the fish in front of him and makes a decision based on his gut reaction to what he sees. Anyway, let's go back now and take a look at how tuna has been perceived in Japan through the years.
For most Japanese, tuna is a very popular food item. But 2 or 3 centuries ago, things were different. This illustration dates from that time, the Edo period. Tuna caught in the sea near Edo, now known as Tokyo, were transported on horseback. It wasn't easy to keep a big tuna fresh as you carried it to market. And once you got there, tuna was a tough fish to sell. Tuna in those days were commonly called something that sounded like Day of Death, so people tended to avoid eating them. Even a 1-meter-long tuna would only fetch about 2,000 yen in today's money. But things changed in the 19th century. (1854) brought a bumper tuna catch, and tuna became widely available in towns. People who had never eaten it before thought up ways to make tuna taste good. A new cooking style was born, zuke. Zuke was made by soaking fish meat in soy sauce to prevent spoiling. The soy sauce went really well with tuna. Outdoor sushi stalls were popular in Edo. Cheap, tasty zuke was a smash hit. People came to love the red meat of tuna. Eventually, even the fatty parts, which had previously been discarded, began to draw attention. As Western cuisine spread through Japan in the mid-20th century, more people came to enjoy the taste of food with a high fat content. Japan's consumption of tuna began to soar, and with refrigeration techniques improving quickly, tuna was soon being imported from all over the world. Thanks to changes in consumer preferences and the expertise of Japanese chefs, tuna's prestige has continued to grow.
Well, we've just heard a little bit about zuke, which is tuna that's been soaked in soy sauce and which was responsible, partially at least, for sushi taking off as a popular food in the Edo period. Zuke originally was created to preserve the tuna, I know. But these days, when you can get any amount of fresh tuna, what do you think is the secret of its popularity?
Tuna and soy sauce go very well together. When you soak tuna in soy sauce, the flesh is compacted. And that's when the tuna and the soy sauce really become one. They're a perfect match. That's why it's popular.
You probably see it's a slightly deeper red than what we've seen before, and there's a kind of brownish tinge to the outside of it there. It's soft, but there's a slightly firmer feel to it because it's been soaked for at least a day. Also, it's a little bit salty because of the soy sauce, of course. But it does have an appeal. It's a little bit different from a regular tuna. In a sushi restaurant, you have many, many different kinds of fish on a daily basis, on a seasonal basis. Out of all of those, how important is tuna?
With other kinds of fish, when flatfish isn't in season, for example, we'll serve sea bass or whatever. But there is just no substitute for tuna. So if you have no tuna, you can't open the shop for business. That's how important tuna is.
As you can probably tell, Japanese people have gone to fairly elaborate lengths to find all sorts of novel ways of eating tuna, both the red meat and the fatty part as well now. Ironically, though, these days, the whole world is competing, especially for quality fatty tuna. And Japan actually imports about 60% of its tuna these days. But some fishermen still insist on catching it the hard way, one-to-one out in the wild. Next, we're going to take a look at some of the fishermen who are maintaining these old traditional styles.
Oma is a town at the northern tip of Honshu, Japan's largest main island. Of the population of 6,000, 1/3 of the workforce is involved in the fishing industry. And that industry is dominated by bluefin tuna. Oma's bluefin fetch a high price, and in season the ocean is packed with fishing boats. The traditional fishing method here is truly hands-on, with a single hook on a handheld line. Bait holds the key. Fake bait that looks like squid or sori is used. Each fisherman has his own special way to make it. Typically, he won't even share this secret with his own children, let alone any rivals. Even if they're your kids, they're still rivals. Father and son, they're rivals. Everyone's a rival. It's time to go fishing. First, they need to find a school of bluefin. The surface of the sea is broken and seagulls have gathered. Bluefin are hunting smaller fish. The fishermen cast their lines ahead of the school. This man has hooked a bluefin, but the handline method used in Oma is hardly foolproof. In a 4-month fishing season, some people may make several tens of million yen, but others will fail to catch a single fish. This tuna is 2 meters long and weighs almost 200 kilograms. The fishermen compete to catch bluefin. But out at sea, they help each other too. When they hear that a big tuna has been hooked, they'll help the fishermen on that boat. Leaving his own boat empty, this man boards another boat. All one man can do by himself is haul in the line, so someone else comes in to finish off the tuna with a harpoon. Catching a big bluefin tuna requires a little help. If one of us gets a fish, we think the rest of us will too. People really believe that. So, yes, we're rivals, but we cooperate too. When you fish for bluefin tuna, your life is literally on the line. people set rivalry aside in a spirit of cooperation. The first tuna auction of the year at Tsukiji Market in January. The highest bid is 16 million yen for a bluefin caught in Oma.
For many years, tuna was an everyday item on menus everywhere around Japan. These days, it's gradually becoming a luxury food and sought around the world. There are concerns about the soaring prices of tuna, but not only that, the depleting stocks of it as well. We're going to leave you on today's show with a look at a new initiative to combat that situation as much as possible. I'll see you again next time.
In November 2009, an international tuna conservation conference was held in Brazil. A proposal was adopted to reduce the tuna catch in the Atlantic and the Mediterranean by around 40%.
Impossible. And Matthias Mollett, our liaison guy, who has done an incredible job, and I really don't know how.
In recent years, the tuna situation has been getting increasingly grim for Japan. Japan consumes 80% of the world's bluefin tuna, and about 90% of that comes from the Atlantic or the Mediterranean. These days, tuna is seen as a healthy food item, and consumption is booming in the West and China. Competition for tuna resources is fierce. A new move is afoot in Japan to address this challenge. Research on full life cycle breeding of tuna began 40 years ago and finally achieved success in 2002. Tuna bred from eggs are starting to appear on the market, as Japan desperately seeks ways to preserve its tuna-eating traditions.